and gentlemen, welcome to Shoot, Punch, Kick, the only podcast in the world where three local Brooklyn heroes talk about the 80s and 90s movies that molded them into the champions of light that they are. Today, Anthony, Telly, and I are exploring the horrors of apartment living in the 1986 horror dark comedy Troll. What's up, boys? How's it going?
It's going good. Reminded me of my humble days in an apartment. No, I'm still in an apartment.
What about you, Telly? How you doing, my brother?
I'm great, man. Looking forward to this, actually.
Are you? Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, so again, today we're going to be talking about the movie Troll. We usually like to start with our personal experiences with the film. The reason I chose this particular movie was because I had vague memories of this movie as, like, again, back to my uncle, one of the movies that my uncle made me watch as a kid. I remember the little girl who I mistook for Heather O'Rourke of Poltergeist fame, moving into like an apartment building. I remember the titular troll, the way he looked, like the design for him. I remembered an apartment like turning into a scary forest. So when I was hanging out with my uncle, I mentioned these kind of vague memories I had, and he immediately said, "Oh, that's Troll." So I went in, I looked up the box art, and of course, immediately smacked me in the face. I immediately recognized it. After watching the movie, it turns out that my memories weren't just of Troll. I think they were probably a little bit of a mashup of Troll and Ghoulies and The Gate. So this is my first time seeing that fever dream of my childhood. What about you guys?
The Gate.
Telly, you want to go start?
I have very vivid memories of us experiencing this movie for the first time. I was like 8 or 9 years old. Went to my friend's house. He had this. His sister was watching this in the living room on VHS tape. And being 8 or 9, you're not very discerning. You just sit down and someone plays a movie in front of you, and you're into it, right? And obviously, this movie's about a little kid who was probably supposed to be our age. So. And I remember having a great time being 8 years old and just kind of sitting in my friend's house watching this movie with him and his sisters. But that's not the same experience now as an almost 50-year-old man. But we'll get into that later.
I don't remember seeing this, but when you mentioned it last week, I Googled it and I remembered a couple of like frames from it. And I don't know if I saw the movie or if I just, because I had cable my whole life, so I don't know if it's something that I just caught the end of it and just saw that part. So it was basically a first time watch for me.
All right, cool. Well, normally, before we get started into the nitty gritty, we like to go to our future digital overlords at ChatGPT, give them a chance to flex their digital mental muscles and give us a plot synopsis. So let's see how they did. When the Potter family moves into a new apartment building, their young daughter Wendy is suddenly possessed by an ancient, shape-shifting troll named Turok. Her older brother, Harry Potter Jr., realizes something is wrong when Wendy begins acting strangely. Meanwhile, the troll uses magic to transform the building's tenants into mystical creatures, slowly turning the complex into a lush, otherworldly domain. Harry befriends a kind-hearted witch named Eunice St. Clair, who reveals the history of Turok and helps him prepare for a final confrontation. As the troll powers grow, Harry must summon his courage to save his sister and stop Turok from fully transforming the world into his own enchanted realm. A mix of fantasy, horror, and dark humor, Troll is a cult classic known for its bizarre and early use of magical themes. So how do we think ChatGPT did?
I don't know about horror and dark humor.
At least it attempts dark humor. I don't know if it succeeds.
I don't know about dark humor.
But the horror.
Film. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny is when we first started doing the ChatGPT things, it was just literally giving us a synopsis. I feel like it's adding a little bit more of like editorial flair at the end now, where it's like,
it's becoming self-aware. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone hide. Run and hide. All right. So getting into initial reactions. Holy crap, this movie is a tour de force. Art at its highest form, as exemplified by great writing, character development, intricate plots, interconnected scene structures. I'm just kidding. This movie sucks balls. I actually don't want to say this movie sucks balls, because if this movie had sucked my balls, I might have enjoyed it a little bit. But wow, this was terrible. I expected it to be campy and low budget, but I didn't expect the silliness, the musical numbers, or the meandering plot. I'm not even sure how I would have liked this even as a child.
Mm.
What about you guys?
This is
Telly?
a awful, awful movie by any measure. Just the way it's made and the technical aspects to it, the creative aspects to it. Nothing redeeming. There is one, to me at least. There's one memorable scene that we'll get into later, but watching it again, I just it was just a chore to sit through. And also being more familiar now, having watched Troll 2 more in my adulthood, and that's a bad movie. That's a so bad it's good movie. Whereas the Troll 1, which has nothing to do with Troll 2, it's just a so bad it's bad movie.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that too, because when you go online, a lot of the discourse around this movie is not really about this movie as much as how it compares to that movie, which is widely considered to be like one of the worst movies ever made, but it's still way more lovingly kind of seen than this is.
Yeah.
What did you think, Dash's initial impressions wise?
Immediately, I hated it. Immediately, I sent a text to the group chat. I was 3 minutes into the movie. It just came in so bad, but it established what it was immediately. And the issue that I had with it is like, you like at that point you have to agree whether you're in on it and with it, right? Like you could take like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. The 80s has so many of these, like, that was almost my opinion of like Evil Dead, where I was, watching it. It's like, well, you got to understand, these are like friends. They just made this movie. They were like, trying. So it's tough for me to like, it's obviously terrible, but is it one of those like, hey, we're just having, like, I like terrible movies. Like a movie like Martial Law with Cynthia Rothrock. Like, it's not trying to be good, but it's but I agree to the contract we have watching this, right? Like, it's
Yeah, I signed up for this.
bad. This one was just like, the humor wasn't landing, the scenes were too long, and it just went on, and every new thing that they added was worse than the previous one. And it was rough, this one.
And it just doesn't seem to know what it wants to do. This is obviously like this is not a coming of age story. There's nothing deeper here other than just scenes of people talking to each other and weird scenes of really bad puppetry.
Well, I mean, so let's kind of dive into that. Well, also to your point, Dash, one thing that occurred to me too was this movie somehow is only an hour and 22 minutes long, but it felt like a 3-hour movie. Like, when it was done, I'm like, finally. And then I looked to see how long it was. And when I was doing the research and I said an hour and 22, like, I felt like I lost a good 3 hours of my life watching it, right?
Well, the 2 minutes in, immediately I was like, how much more? How much longer is this?
So, all right. So again, kind of more structurally, again, Telly, to your point, let's kind of let's talk a little bit about the concept, the premise. So, I mean, it starts with like a typical family that moves into an apartment building. I don't think that's a terrible place to start. It could be a great setup to, introduce interesting like character neighbors. There's a troll in the building trying to take over. Okay, maybe. Right. But, again, it just fails to me in both of those things. The characters don't really make sense. They're not really interesting. They kind of come off as unrealistic and unbothered by like reality. The troll, like, it doesn't really explain, like, how did it get there?
Yeah.
Why is it there right now? How long has it been there? What is it trying to accomplish? It just seems like a mismatch of like individual scenes with no like connective tissue. I don't know. As far as like premise is concerned, do you think this is a situation where it's a good premise executed poorly, or is this a whole like throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing? Dash, what do you think?
I think the premise is fine. I don't even mind the connecting tissue, because generally that shit really doesn't matter. Like, I'm not so into the Jason Voorhees lore of there is a story behind it, but just get the kids to the camp and show me cool stuff for the rest of the time. I think an apartment building is really interesting because you have all the different neighbors, right? Like, that that idea makes sense. It's a extended haunted house and you have everyone interacting. The execution was just the really bad part of the movie, because like, how do you meet all of them? There's a fire alarm going off. Everyone's talking over this like a ringing alarm for about 4 minutes. So if you thought an alarm was annoying enough, imagine that happening with like the tropiest but not interesting. Like, so for example, you have like the Sonny Bono character who's like basically like a quagmire.
The hornball.
Yeah, that's really Mr. Furley from
Mr. Furley.
Company.
Yeah, I was getting all
that
this.
could be hilarious, but it wasn't. There was like other characters who were that character type, and immediately you start to see what they're trying to do and how the execution of it doesn't land. I think like whatever, you have a troll, you have a shapeshifter in a story. I mean, this is like your Battlestar Galactica is your thing. Like, there's so many movies that have that same setup. So, I wasn't even pressed about the lore, but the issue that I had with especially with the setup part is when you introduce those characters, I'm like, fuck, I got to see them again. Like, coming up, because that's what that scene does, right? They're like, hey, here's going to be the people players that you see for the next hour and change, and nobody left an impression where I wanted to see them again.
It just makes no sense, because you spend all that time introducing these characters and they literally only have one more scene after they're introduced. So what's the point of that? And I think they were trying to follow like sort of a slasher formula where you're telling the story and then you got these intermittent there's no kills in this movie, but sort of the monster attacks, right? But those were not done well. So there's just nothing here to hang your hat on, because the movie's not funny. It's not scary. And you don't know what the hell's going on. The story's completely incoherent, because the second scene of the movie, the girl goes to the basement and she's attacked by a troll coming out of nowhere. And
what happened to her?
She's possessed. We don't know anything. We don't know anything. So it's just kind of, there's no world building, there's no setup. It just goes straight into it, and you're not, there's nothing there for you to cling on to from a story perspective.
And also from a character point, like I thought that at least they would go, it's not like my shit now, but like in the kid hero kind of thing, they're way more active and involved. So like your Lost Boys, like the boy character had, Harry Potter Jr., it's like he has nobody else to hang out with. There was no like, there was like, he had the old lady who he's who eventually does something, but it's like it doesn't have the real like unraveling the mystery like Goonies or Lost Boys or any of these like fun kid through the eyes of a kid movie.
Even Critters, right?
So I think, Carlos, you brought up The Gate. I thought that was a perfect example of like a kid's like horror movie done right. Where the kid has some agency, there's some pathos, he feels abandoned,
and it's actually scary, and like
but this horror element, like, because to dash your point, like the son is the main character, but like, what is his arc? He just kind of like hangs around the house. And that's also another thing. And I'll cut the movie some slack. It is limited by its budget. Obviously, they're shooting in the same set and they're just painting the walls and saying it's someone else's apartment. It was done for an ultra low budget. Yeah, but they just, I don't know. They're just like, I don't know how someone could have taken a look at this script and said, yeah, let's make this movie.
Well,
because
also,
nothing happens. Nothing interesting happens in the film.
So, I mean, okay, that kind of naturally, we can skip around a little bit here, but that brings us around to, I think, the easily to talk about the directing, right? So this was written and directed by John Carl Buechler. The screenwriter that's credited is Ed Neha, and I guess John Carl Buechler probably had a hand in it. He did a treatment of the script, right? So a little just background about the director. He ran the makeup effects department at New World Pictures, so he's really known more as a makeup effects guy. Roger Corman called him the best in the business. And if you look at some of the stuff he's done, it's more FX work. His FX work spanned B-movie and Hollywood greats, including Ghoulies, Trancers. He did the Garbage Pail Kids movie, a couple of the Nightmare on Elm Street movie and Halloween movies. He did Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, Scanner Cop. But as a director, he's only done 15 movies. And aside from Troll, the only movies of note were Friday the 13th, New Blood, and Ghoulies Go to College.
Well,
So
see, this is the one thing that baffles me. Friday the 13th, New Blood. That was, I thought, Jason's best look on film. Right, so the makeup in that movie is amazing because Jason looks fucking incredible. Like he's a zombie corpse, and that movie's it's entertaining and it's competent. You know, it's kind of generic, but it's like it's goofy. And he only made that 2 years after Troll, so I'm just like, what the fuck happened with Troll? You know,
well,
the
I
makeup
mean,
sucks. The movie's just incoherent, so it's just baffled me. Rest in peace, by the way, John Carl Buechler.
So I think something that kind of speaks to what we were going about before, where we were like, it's kind of meandering. It doesn't know if it, kind of what it wants to be. Is it a fantasy movie? Is it a horror movie? Is it a comedy? So apparently, in the original treatment for the script, he had this kind of set up to be a more typical slasher film. In the original treatment, the troll would just go from apartment to apartment, just systematically and interestingly killing all of the inhabitants. No real reason why. I think it was just for the pure joy of killing. It was typically more akin to what you might see in a regular slasher movie, but the studio wanted a film with a PG-13 rating, so they drastically rewrote the script, injected all these fantasy elements, and didn't tell him until they started for pre-production. So, I mean, I think that speaks, it's really evident in the way the movie goes. I feel like, I'm not sure if it's going for weird or childish. I'm not sure if it's going for, a scary or funny. Again, why does it feel like it takes 3 hours when it's an hour and 22 minutes long? Also, if this is made by a special effects guy, why are the special effects so shitty? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
what do you guys? Go ahead.
I mean, there was some stuff like I thought that the transformation, what the first transformation with Sonny Bono, right, where he first turned into the troll. Yeah, I thought that was actually pretty cool. When I saw that, especially early, I was like, all right, if I'm assuming there will be more of this. You could see that they cut a little corners, they would cut away, and then it would be like a little bit further
Something
into
different.
the stage. But it was still pretty interesting. But I thought, hearing that he was a special effects guy, it reminded me of a movie we watched a couple back, which was Night of the Living Dead remake. And the way that the special effects were done, everything led up to like a good reveal of it. Like, it was like, okay, here's a moment with a corpse. We'll set that up, and then, we'll use the special effects to kind of like pay that off. I don't see if they rewrote it, it looks like it was during the moments in between the kills, and that didn't make the effects any better,
No, but there were actual kills. It wasn't transforming them into nymphs, transforming them into other little baby messed up looking puppets. Like he was out there killing them. He was kind of more like Leprechaun, I'm thinking. More along the lines of Chucky or something.
So I think for clarification, I'm looking at John Carl Buechler's Wikipedia now, and it lists him as a makeup artist as opposed to like a special effects guy.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's why, maybe that's why Jason looks so great in Friday the 13th, Part 7.
Makeup effects department, yeah.
But
sure.
and
Makeup effects
that's why these special effects look shit in this movie, because that's probably not his wheelhouse. Because the makeup looks good on the troll, on the main troll, it looks okay. The lighting is shit, so that's another reason why the effects look so bad, because the lighting is terrible. It's like a porno movie lighting. But and acting.
I mean, so I think I don't know if anybody else wants to comment, or just by and large, aside from the way the things looked, anything that you guys want to point out with regards to like the direction of the actual movie itself, either good or bad?
Just bad.
Just bad. Fair enough.
I don't think
fair
there's
enough. All
any
right.
nuance at all. There's just nothing makes any sense, and there's no sort of depth at all or anything. I think there's a couple of germs of some decent ideas that if they baked them out, it could have been something more interesting, like a movie about a boy just kind of befriending this woman who turns out to be some like whatever witch or whatever. That could have been cool, but this movie just goes all over the place. It's like a bad sitcom.
Yeah,
with all the wacky neighbors.
So, I mean, I think another major failure point amongst many is like the troll himself as a villain. Again, I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's not really a whole lot of explanation as to like, how did he get into the building? Has he been in the building the whole time? Why didn't he try this sooner? Like, what exactly he's after? I don't know. He's not really that menacing. Again, I keep on going back whenever we have these little tiny creature features where it's just like, I don't know. I just kind of would have punted this motherfucker. He's got a ring that does some kind of unspecified power. I guess he can use that to morph. If anything, he's like more creepy than scary.
He's the
he's
Green
like,
Lantern.
He's scary, like word. He's
A
scary,
mighty
like
Morphin Green
like
Lantern.
he's scary, like a peeping tom is scary more than like a monster scary,
Yeah,
right?
he's like a creepy super basically in the building.
Yeah, it's just like what's happened, and then he's just kind of reading the magazine while this guy's like transforming.
Nothing about the troll makes any sense because it's so inconsistent. 1 second, even when he's in the form of the little girl, she's acting like the troll, right? Like she's screaming. But then another moment, she'll just walk into someone's house and be like, "Hi, how are you?" I'm like, so it's like, are you normal?
You're beautiful.
Can you control yourself? Or are you this like ravenous, whatever? There'll be a time where she'll like go into a house and then turn into the troll later. But then there'll be another time where she'll turn into the troll immediately. So it's like, are you trying to like, why are you trying to trick them? Like there's just no consistency to anything in the movie. And that's stuff like that. I mean, I I don't know if that's a writing thing or a directing thing of at some point, I feel like you can't be super beholden to the script if it's just completely not making any type of sense. And I'm not even saying like, this could be a so bad it's good kind of thing. But I mean, like just from one scene to the next, it's incoherent at times into what anything means. And it's not even like, I would forgive that if it's at the expense of doing something interesting or cool, but it's just different. Like it's just, I don't know, it's just very inconsistent.
One thing that I did actually kind of enjoy, even though, again, I think I enjoyed it because it was so bad, was the troll in the body of the little girl, because she just came off as unhinged, and I don't know, I just kind of found it endearing. And then she'd be unhinged at the top of her lungs, screaming "Rat burger, roar!" And then she goes into like the military dude's like apartment, and he says something funny like, "I've seen the face of death," and then she says something creepy like, "Well, what does death look like? I've seen death," right? Like it didn't make a whole lot of sense, but I found it creepy and kind of endearing, even though it was in the midst of a bunch of craziness.
It would have been funny if they, it would have been funny if they stayed with the girl acting all crazy and ravenous, because that was amusing for like the first like couple of seconds when she was just eating the rat burger. But you know what it started to remind me of? Hereditary. The whole situation between the brother and the weird sister. But it just gave me some of those vibes, and I'm not sure which one I would rewatch, but anyway, that's a separate conversation.
I like Hereditary. I just want to shout out. I just want to shout out. This is our second movie in 2 weeks to have a rat burger.
Yes.
Shout out.
So
shout out to this double feature, a Demolition Man, troll double feature rat burger.
Again, to the point of the troll being like an ineffective villain, what do we think? Why is he ineffective in comparison to someone like Chucky or like the Critters? Again, it's hard enough to make something so tiny seem menacing as it is. And so I just don't. I think the only thing I can think of is you don't actually see the troll kill anybody.
Well, that's why it's menacing.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
what the threat is.
I think the threat, and it's the rules. Like Chucky is so he's bound by his size. He has the ability to blend in as a toy. And when Chucky works, it's playing into these like literally two elements. He's either small, it can go somewhere, or he can blend in where no one takes him serious. And in this one, they throw so much at you that you can't explore any one idea. So if it became the troll is a shape-shifting girl who no one suspects, and you go through the movie and you explore like, what does that mean? That means she can turn on the parents. That means that blah blah. But it's like she has powers. She, no one says. she transforms halfway, like an arm comes under the sofa, but she's on the other side of the sofa, but as a troll, but can make you transport, but can also, and it was just so much that there's nothing there. And the critters were dope because they were vicious. Like they'll fuck you up with your teeth. There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah,
they have a backstory of like being, menacing, which we don't get any backstory from this. And what little bit we do get is way later
Fairy tale
in the movie. So it was just like, it didn't do any of the work that Chucky or Critters does, like narratively to make that.
And to add to what Dash was saying, critters are just like ravenous, like animals, like wild animals, right? And they just want to destroy everything in its path.
No, but they're smart.
Nature. But Chucky, he had an objective. He had a goal. He was trying to get little Andy.
Body.
So with the troll character in this film, there is no objective. It's very convoluted, so you don't even quite understand what the goal is. And then also,
like if he takes over the apartment building, he takes over the
I don't even get that. Like they're trying to turn the apartment building into his world. It's like, please leave the house. Kind of. The fuck?
How about straight up, like, how about we just condemn the building? Also, like, his hiding spot was behind the fucking the washing machine. No one will ever find me here. Like, it's just not menacing at all, And then the big thing is like, oh, I'm approaching you with this ring. There's like a whole scene where like he's like being chased. I don't know if it was Sonny Bono or the military guy. Maybe it's a military guy where he's like, they're like doing that cat and mouse thing around the table. And I'm like, bro, just lift the table up and kick this little fucker in the face. Like, I don't know. I couldn't find him funny. And it almost makes me mad when, I'm watching a movie and the big bad is not bad.
Well, that's the other thing too, though. Like when I remember in Critters, someone tried to kick a critter. And he got fucked up immediately. And for the whole rest of the movie, you're like, yo, don't do that shit. So, I think that's a thing that just shows like a lack of, and these are things that don't add to budget. They just require someone to like think, for like 5 seconds. And, from the filmmaker's point of view. So it's like, when you get to that, it doesn't, you're not even giving the movie a chance because it's so just out of pocket.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so go ahead, Tom.
No, I was just going to add. I think this is also probably the brainchild of Charles Band. Who was the head of Empire Pictures and also later became the head of Full Moon. And he is known for making movies about like little things that are little killer things. So like the Puppet Master
Demonic
Toys, Ginger Dead Man, all that.
And I think this director worked on some of those movies as well.
Yeah, exactly. So but obviously but in those movies, those things like the Puppet Master movies, those are killer puppets, whereas the troll is just running around the apartment wasting everyone's time.
I like that. That's what I wish ChatGPT would have said that. That would have been a way more accurate descriptor of the movie instead of being like, it's known for its wiry comedy. No, it's not. Stop it. I just want to give a shout out to like this. I think poster is really to blame for us having to sit through this piece of crap because this is, I don't know, a pretty cool looking poster if you ask me. And I remember seeing it in the video store all the time. And so again, when my uncle was like, "Oh, I think you're talking about Troll," and I Googled it and I saw that, I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be it." And then, oh man,
it was
disappointment. That was it. All right, so let's talk about the cast. There's not really much here in the way of standout performances, so I'm thinking we can just kind of run through the names here. And if you guys want to say anything about anybody, just feel free to jump in. We've got Michael Moriarty from Law and Order fame. To
me, he's
Harry
the
Potter.
VIP of this movie. I love his 80s horror movies like The Stuff and Cube the Winged Serpent. And I would say I know we're jumping ahead of ourselves here, but there's only one scene and he's in it that I've ever revisited over the last like 30 years because it just amuses me because he's in one scene.
Is it the music one? Is it the dancing
when he's dancing in the living room like an idiot and he looks like he's having a seizure. So
apparently that was one of the first scenes that they filmed for the movie, and I was looking at some other stuff, and he was saying that basically he's like, in that scene, and he said he instantly felt silly and like ridiculous, and he was taking it very seriously, and so he asked the director for like direction on how he should play it. And the director did something weird. He took a lampshade and put it on his head and then didn't say anything and went back to his director's chair. And basically Michael Moriarty was like, all right, that's when I realized that this was going to be a piece of shit. And none of the stuff was going to make any sense. And so don't take this seriously at all. And that's how I ran with the rest of the movie. So it's funny that you mentioned that.
Yes.
Scene for him.
I didn't know that about that scene, but yeah, that's where it's just Michael Moriarty being goofy, completely out of context. That scene could have been cut out of the movie, and the movie would have still made no sense, but it wasn't necessary. But
and like they even earlier on set up that scene, because one of the first lines in the movie, and you see them moving, is like, "Oh, you've got 10,000 records.
Yeah.
You know, why are you keeping?" So like they put in that dialogue specifically for that scene to exist, but that scene existing meant absolutely nothing to the film itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just don't understand. But neither did Michael Moriarty, so at least we're in good company. Then there is Noah Hathaway from Neverending Story fame as Harry Potter the son. This Harry Potter thing is fucking gonna annoy the shit out of me. Can we just also talk about the elephant in the room? Harry Potter Jr. and Senior being this kept on taking me out, and apparently there was considerations to possibly sue J.K. Rowling for it, because basically just the name is so specific, and because there are fantasy elements. They never wound up doing it. And when asked about it, she kind of laughed it off as being ridiculous. I think she said something like, "What is troll?"
Yeah, they were trying to do a remake. John Carl Buechler, before he passed away, they were trying to reboot the movie to leverage or exploit, however you want to look at it, the Harry Potter connection. And it was going to be, like a boy named Harry Potter that does magic and fights trolls, right? But that never came to fruition.
I think there was an animated something too I saw.
Yeah.
I normally, when we watch a movie and I'm interested in it, and there's other it's on other formats, like if there's a video game or if there's an animated series or something, I'm always one to like just at least look into it. But I found out that there is an animated, I think it's a prequel to this. I'm probably gonna miss that one.
How about the sequels? You going in for the whole?
Find out where he was before the launch.
I mean, so again, and we can talk about this when we look at the review stuff. This movie is only ever spoken on in the context of the sequel, and again, only because the sequel is widely regarded as one of the worst movies ever, but it's loved.
Yes.
And so to your point, Telly, it's like one of those weird situations where technically this is a better movie, but it's not a better watch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, again, I think I'm gonna abstain from getting into the trollverse.
I mean, the Troll 2 has nothing at all to do with Troll 1, and they just kind of called it Troll 2 for marketing purposes. But that movie's terrible, but it's like terrible in the most glorious way. And at least you got fun with it. It's like watching The Room, whereas like, yeah, again, this first Troll is just a mess.
Yeah. All right. So then we have Jenny Beck from Nothing. You might know her from Nothing. I don't know. I guess it's just I really feel like they were doing their best to get the Carrie Ann from Poltergeist look down, from like the facial expression she was making, her hairstyle. The actress looks just like her. And I think her name is Wendy Ann Potter. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm digging too much into it, but I feel like that might be like an Easter egg or something, because up until I did the IMDb research, even after watching the whole movie, I was convinced it was that same actress.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I didn't see her in anything else. It was a ridiculous role, but I found her character endearing in how annoying she was. Just something about her rabidly running around the house going, "Ratburger, roar!" and then saying some like deeply adult and cold shit like, what does death look like? Or a picture, is that your suitor? Like just weird stuff. I found it mildly endearing. And then there are some special appearances that we mentioned earlier, like Sonny Bono Julie Louis-Dreyfus as both of them as horny neighbors.
All right, Elaine.
Yeah, Elaine, and again, I think I looked it up. This is her first film. As you might imagine, she would prefer it not being brought up. And I saw a funny YouTube video clip of Leno interviewing her for, I think it was the finale of Seinfeld, and he brought it up and even played a clip. And you could tell from her face she didn't see it coming, and she was not impressed that Jay Leno did
One thing
that.
I didn't realize is that the guy that plays the military dude in this movie is her husband.
Yes,
So,
yeah, that's correct. No, I don't think it's her husband. I think it was her boyfriend.
No, I mean in real life.
No, I think the guy who played her boyfriend.
Yeah, the guy that
is
the boyfriend. Yeah,
the guy
I'm sorry. Yeah, one of the guys. See, I can't remember who was in the movie. So
yeah. Well, I mean, we all remember Julie Louis-Dreyfus was in it because she was running around like a nymph, like a little nymph. I highlighted it,
and also shout out to Shelley Hack, who played the mom, and the following year she was in a legitimately great movie, The Stepfather, where she was Terry O'Quinn's.
Oh wow, I remember.
Shout out to John Locke.
Wow, memory unlocked.
Yes.
That's crazy. Okay, and then also I thought it was interesting that June and Anne Lockhart both played Eunice the Witch. So the actress who played the older version of the witch was the same was the mother of the actress who played the younger version of the witch.
They did look kind of alike, but there was also no point in. What was the point of her transforming into a younger version of herself?
Get a daughter a job, bro.
Yeah. I was like, there must be some point to this.
There salaries.
Yeah.
Or her turning into a stump, it didn't really make sense either. How that happened? Like she went in there all gung ho with that spear, and then saw the big giant monster and was like, "Oh shit!" And then she didn't get stepped on. She got turned into a tree. I don't know. Was he making babies at one point? Like the little trolls that were coming out were looking like babies. There was a scene too where the dwarf in the building is transformed. By the way, the dwarf is played. In the building is played by the same actor who played the troll.
Yes.
The little person.
The little person. And a story I read too was that during this was at Cannes, which is crazy.
CANS.
Yeah, it was at Cannes. Didn't mean it was in the main festival. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, the only reason I bring it up is because it was there, and apparently they wanted this actor to don the costume as marketing outside the theater, and he refused to do it, citing heat issues. And they got some circus performer to do it, who actually wound up getting heat stroke and like.
He was like, "You thought I was lying, bro?" Like,
and apparently, every time he talks to that director, he's like, "See, I told you so." He took effect to that. So
good for him.
Yeah, no, you've probably seen that actor Phil Fondacaro in a bunch of things. So yeah, he's worked a lot. He's worked a lot in these types of films.
I also I don't know if he wrote it or if it was written in the script. How he's kind of a little bit of a dick. In his scenes where he's playing himself in the movie, just the way he interacts with everybody, where people are like, "Oh, you're," and clearly the guy's thinking a little person, but he's like, "Yeah, a theater professor," right? Like he just his whole arc in the thing was people.
I wouldn't call him a dick though. You know what I mean? Like I thought he was okay. Yo, he showed up to the house with a bottle.
You know what I mean? That's fair.
Saved
he
dude's
showed up
daughter.
ready to date the family's 9-year-old daughter. Come on.
That was a little crazy, but whatever.
Yeah, that
was a little crazy.
If you even bother to think about it, you're like, okay, that is creepy. But
you know what I was wondering? When he goes into the house and the dad's like, "Hey, can I get you something to drink?" And he's like, "Gin and tonic." Like, if you go to someone's house and they offer you a drink, do you just make an order? Like, if someone asked me that, I don't know if I'd be like, "Yeah,
what do you have?"
Vodka soda. Yeah, I think that would have been my follow up. But I just thought that was oddly, sorry, I don't have tonic. I could just.
I like a sex on the beat. Can I get a fuzzy navel, please?
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what?
Do you have any orange peels? Because
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, I don't know. Before I move on, anybody else have any other performances that you want to shout out? All right. This movie is awesome. Also, I want to. Can you give a shout in? Can I? Like, I don't want to give a shout out to. I want to like the opposite of a shout out to the musical portion of it. Like, I don't want to say that's where it lost me because it had already lost me, but that was a point where it like lost me. It lost the lostness of me. Like at a certain point, I always say this. You could tell if I'm not feeling a movie if I get up to go to the bathroom and I don't bother to pause it.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
and the music, like that musical portion came up, and then I was like, I don't have to use the bathroom, but I should just get up and go to the bathroom right now. It was like terrible.
Yeah, that was terrible. But I think that's also watching this now. You realize what a long shadow Star Wars and then the Ewoks and all that kind of crap cast over the 80s. Because there were scenes like that in a bunch of movies with just like all these like freaks or monsters or things like singing and dancing. But I just can't believe how inarticulate those puppets were, where it just looked like someone was just holding up a doll and just shaking it,
They look terrible. You're right. They were like kind of lit terrible. Although I did think the penis plant was pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, why is that? What did you think?
Tell me more.
I mean, Freud. Ask Freud. Don't ask me. I don't know. But and also, funny enough, that was something that I remembered. Like again, it was one of those like frames where I'm like, oh shit, memory unlocked. It's the penis plant.
Got a lot to unpack in this movie.
Just like, and also like the witch is like that. That's like the witch's best friend. But anyway, I digress. So, box office. The estimated budget for Troll was somewhere between 700,000 and 1.1 million, which is like just kind of a large delta. I'm guessing maybe they're not really sure about like the marketing budget or something, but it opened on January 17th, 1986, which is again not a great time for movies. It opened on less than 1,000 screens, but it earned 2.5 million that weekend, placing ninth on the box office charts. Again, ninth in the box office opening weekend in January. Before leaving theaters, it had amassed 5.5 million in the US and another 5.5 million worldwide. And it made even more while moving to VHS and cable. Yeah. And I think that's where people really started to watch it. But I mean, again, not, breaking any records, but $12 million on $1 million budget, I think is, a solid investment by anybody's standards.
Real quick though, looking at the box office for January,
Charles Band.
Rocky 4, Color Purple, 101 Dalmatians, Back to the Future.
Well, there you go. There's some bangers.
Troll down there, but yeah, those are some
bangers. It has some stiff comp.
Yeah,
I can't be mad at that.
That's a competition.
I can't be mad at that at all.
Come on, Back to the Future. I would have saw that like 7 times instead.
Exactly. Yeah, I would have seen that.
And Rocky 4. Sorry, we're over here ending the Cold War in our theaters. We got time to be fucking around with Troll.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. And so again, we like to take a look at reviews. I couldn't find a Ebert review of Troll. All I could find was him talking about a documentary.
Review this one, yeah,
that chronicled how bad Troll 2 was. Again, back to my point of it's really hard to find anything about this movie other than it being referenced in the context of the other movie. And again, it's funny. Part 2, I just thought it was worth mentioning. At the time that movie was made, at the time of the documentary about the worst movies, it had literally a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is crazy. For this film on Rotten Tomatoes, it has an approval rating of 30 based on 10 reviews with an average rating of 3.67 out of 10. On Metacritic, it's the same, about 3 out of 10 based on 5 critics, usually unfavorable reviews. Review at the time from the New York Times wrote, Troll has a knowing tone that's more smart alecky than clever. It hovers uncomfortably between comedy and horror without ever landing decisively in either camp. Variety gave the film a mixed review and called it predictable, dim-witted premise, executed for the most part with surprising style.
What?
And Patrick Goldstein of the Los Angeles Times described it as a clunky, poorly executed shocker, which I think is... Yeah, I don't know what that means. Yeah, that's what they said.
That's when you have 2 fingers. Never mind.
Take it easy. This is a kid-friendly pod.
Edit you
And then
down like they did Troll.
and as far as I actually love to, I put more weight towards the letterbox reviews because they're like actual people, and I like the swag in a lot of them. So let's take a look at a 4-star
like
review.
it's a real movie, though.
And no one did. Don't you worry.
Here the whole time doing just that. What do you mean?
This pod is out of
It's not a
order.
real movie. That's why Ebert didn't review it.
Swagamenon gave it a 4-star review. And the review says, the troll punched a dude in the face and he turned into weed. And also a bunch of trolls and creatures from the Black Lagoon. Harry Potter and the penis mushroom. The puppets are horny in a way I cannot explain. Law and Order DA dads got a hat for the ages.
His name is awesome, Swagamemnon. That's awesome.
Swagamemnon is great. Sugar Salt MSG1 gave it a 4-star review, said, absolutely terrible. I loved it. No notes. On the other end of the spectrum, Party All the Time gave it a half-star review and said, this movie sucks. I love it. And lastly, kind of a more realistic review was Foxy93 gave it a half-star. Pretty much the same level of bad as Troll 2, but sadly not in as amazing of a way. It's not so bad it's good. It's just so bad that it sucks. Though I did get a kick out of seeing a young Julie Louis-Dreyfus. However, that was the only positive out of the entire experience. You notice a theme here. It seems like the word sucks is appearing more and more as we cover this movie.
Thing, and that's the thing with me with these, with like horror, horror really in general is like, it's not, there's so many movies that are like, people like, this movie sucks. I love it. It's great. And I feel like it's more with the horror genre than other ones. Like, I feel like comedy, it's like, okay, there's a very clear thing. It's funny. You know, it might not have the most intricate plot or whatever, but you know, it made me laugh. These are so tough because sometimes like a horror movie can suck. There's a whole bunch of like really bad, slasher movies, and they're just bad. And then some are like even worse than that, but like praised. And I never know how to watch them. And I can really just be like, is it fun? I guess. I don't know. Like I'm really perplexed on ratings for these, because again, like to your point, you can show a 4.5-star review that are literally the exact same comment. It's baffling.
I mean, yeah, but I think to a large extent, you can like something because it's terrible, which kind of goes against logic, right? Which is what makes these kind of reviews difficult. Because, again, we go back to that same line of whether it's a bug or a feature, right? And so it's a little different for action movies, because an action movie can have everything else about it. The story, the acting, the direction can all be terrible. But if the action scenes are good, then by definition, it's a good action movie. Right. And so, there's a bunch of even like martial arts flicks where everything about the movie sucks, but the fight scenes are so fantastic that they're classics. Right. Like I think Five Deadly Venoms is an example of that. Right.
Yeah, but that's not the case with these. They're like, nothing worked. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like, it's not even like that. They're saying like, well, this sucked, but the comedy, like people like, this is just bad. So it would be like a kung fu movie where the fighting sucks, the dubs are off, and I mean, some of those, I guess it's like whether it's a good time, but I did see a review online where someone was like, I'm rating this as high because like I had fun with my friends. And that's like kind of the thing with The Room. I saw The Room a couple of times in Sunshine Cinema, and great time. Great people throwing spoons at the screen, chanting every time. Like, they had the Golden Gate Bridge, and it was just like the people made the experience great. So I don't know. It's really tough for some of these.
Well, I mean, again, though, I think what I was more alluding to was not so much this one, because I don't think this is a movie that sucks and I love it anyway. But I think more towards our Evil kind of Dead discussion, where it's like, even though Evil Dead 1 has all these flaws, I still enjoy watching it. I enjoy, again, the concept of, at least the first one. The second one, I think, is not, I don't think the second one hovers in territory of so bad it's good, but I think the first one kind of does, where it's like, there are things to appreciate in it. I don't think that holds true for this movie. I don't see any redeeming qualities for this movie at all, and I wouldn't even give this an ironic high score. To your point, absolutely. But I'm just saying there are other examples where there are bad of any kind of movie, but you just love them anyway, and it's the bad stuff that you appreciate. I just don't see that happening anywhere at all in this movie. This does not qualify. So since we're talking about how much we love this movie, it only makes sense for us to go into favorite scenes. Dash, what's your favorite scene in this terrible movie?
Mine was the misleading Sonny Bono transforming. I thought it was like, it looked pretty cool. I thought they were like kind of, I think, coming from a makeup artist, that was probably the most well done scene of like setting out to do something and then trying to do it. And it was early enough in the movie to where I was
hadn't really checked out.
Yeah, I was like still. I mean, it was. I was stretched thin by this point, but I was still willing to surprise me. Like, maybe it'll pick up. So at that point, I thought some of it was cool, and it just kept getting more gruesome and gruesome as he transformed into the troll. So at first I was like, his face got swollen and I was like, oh, that looks cool. Then it cut to something else. And then when it came back, it was like even worse. And I was like, oh shit, that was pretty cool. And then it did that 2 more times. And I thought that was a pretty cool escalation from seeing. And what I kind of got excited was I thought like, oh, maybe they'll do this with the other characters where they'll keep transforming and having these moments. But I thought that was pretty cool because I thought the troll makeup, like behind you, that could be a pretty cool like character, and with the right lighting and stuff like that. So when that scene happened, he's like the first victim, which is usually like the tone setter for the movie. And so for me, I
reading a magazine.
Yeah, so I had reading
the magazine,
watching a positive moment on that one.
And as far as transformation scenes too, there was one. I think it was when he did the transformation of the guy of the little person who was in the building into right, and the witch is like knocking on the door to check on everybody, and you just see I don't know if it was like a cocoon that he turned into, that he emerged out of, or whatever it was, that little black like cockroach looking thing, and it was shaking kind of in an odd way, and the troll was like right next to it, and I don't know, man, it looked to me like he was giving the troll was giving him an over the pants handy, and then he just emerged from it like I'm sorry, that was weird, but just note to self for shorts. I think you'll see what I'm talking about when we look. Telly, what did you want to if you had one favorite scene?
So I mentioned my favorite scene is Michael Moriarty dancing, and I wish this movie would have made Michael Moriarty the main character dealing with a troll running around the apartment building. It would have made it 10 times better.
More serious, probably. Yeah, I think so. I could agree with
not even
that.
serious, just goofy. Make it go all the way. Just take the goofiness all the way.
All right. So again with that. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you know what? I do matter. I matter. I mean, I think it's, for me, just on a very base level, just seeing Julie Louis-Dreyfus frolicking around. I love it when beautiful women frolic, and she was great frolicking. Again, just like the reviewer that whatever his name was, Swagamemnon. I think that was the only redeeming part of the entire movie. And also when the credits, because then I knew it was over. And so with that, we go to our ratings. I'm going to go ahead and go first this time. And I'm going to give this one Ratburger out of 5. Dash?
Yeah, I just did not enjoy this at all. I don't think it set out to do anything that they tried to. And I was surprised to see that this was a comedy. Like, I had to check. I didn't know if it was like a kid's horror, but apparently none of the jokes landed.
It was all Star Trek jokes. You didn't get any of the set your phasers to lame. That was literally, you didn't catch all the Star Trek references at the beginning. Those were hilarious.
No, I got
slappers.
I got it. It wasn't like it was the humor. It was too highbrow for me. No, this was just really bad. I'm gonna give it a half Brother Elf out of 5.
Telly?
Yes, I'm going to give this a half Michael Moriarty dancing like an idiot in the living room because of that scene. and because I did like the effect of when they took Malcolm and they turned him into a troll. There's something creepy about that puppet or that animatronic, whatever it was. But that's it. That's the only. Those are the only two things I liked about this film. And again, it is the film is a time capsule of like that period and in these kinds of like low budget bad movies. But
there's way better
ones.
There's way better choices than this in like every single way. So to the gentleman on the panel, please accept my sincerest apologies. We got a stinker that I let through, and this time I'm not even in a position to try to meekly defend it.
Listen, they can't all be Broken Arrow.
Yeah. They can't. We're fair enough. Exactly. You got that right. They can't. And so with that, I think Telly, you have the selection for our next podcast. So take it away.
Yes. So I'm going to get us back onto the shoot, punch, kick thematic with an action movie. And I thought it'd be fun to see if you guys can guess the film. So it's I'll give you two clues. It's directed by the director of Commando, and it features Pam Grier.
Command features Pam Grier.
Pam Grier. That's not a Walter Hill.
Not Foxy Brown.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And not a Tarantino.
One more clue. I'll give three, and it's a science fiction movie.
Ghost of Mars?
No.
Oh. No, because that's John Carpenter.
I only know like blaxploitation ones. I don't know.
All right. Well, the next
I don't know next movies.
Right. The next film is going to be the 1990 somewhat cult classic Class of 1999.
Okay. Cool. That's what's up. All right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I saw it, I think, when it came out, but not since. So it'll be like coming back to it. But I always see that poster whenever, I think Tubi or one of them, everybody knows the algorithm. And I think that's one of the ones that it keeps showing me. So I'm going to let the algorithm have its way.
I totally forgot that Pam Grier was in it.
That's awesome. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time and listen to us moan and groan about a terrible, terrible film. Please like, comment, subscribe, make some recommendations for us for movies you'd like to see us cover. For Telly, Dash, and myself, we want to say thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
It's the goddamn